Okay, it seems real life. So let's start. Welcome everyone for joining us today. I'm Lydia Band and I'm leading the Berlin chapter of Travel Massive. I'm leading chapter together with my colleague Lisa, who is joining us behind the scenes today, taking care of a smooth running through of the event and all technical aspects. So thank you very much, Lisa. It's our first real online event for the chapter, and we are really excited. And it's great that so many of you will join us today. Probably we will need to wait a few more minutes, but I see people are coming in now. So yeah, let's wait a little bit. But yeah, it's great to have this opportunity to do events in a virtual space and not physical. We already miss our local community, but we are happy that we have this way to connect with all of our members. Okay, so I think, yeah, we can go ahead now. Also, this webinar will be recorded, so you can watch a replay of the event later on in case you didn't manage to be here at the live event. If you're interested in more live events, you can always check on our platform. You can see all upcoming webinars there from our local chapters, as well as members and member communities. If you're not a member yet and you're watching this webinar and you're working in the travel industry, you're welcome to join our global community and create a personal profile on our platform and become one of our more than 60,000 members at the moment. We just reached that number recently, and we thank you all very much for your support and trust on Travel Massive and helping us to grow our global network. So today's event will shed some light on how the Berlin travel industry was affected by the COVID-19 situation. The pandemic has hit, of course, the whole world, and people are affected privately, they're affected in their professional lives. Businesses had to deal with all sorts of new concerns and had to deal with problems, but also were thinking of new solutions to cope with the whole situation. If you want to learn more about the various effects the coronavirus had on the international tourism industry, you're welcome to log into our forum on the platform, and you will find the COVID-19 resources category where we include a lot of interesting articles and news, member discussions. So yeah, just log in there, check, and feel free to also add more resources and to comment on also existing ones. But of course, also in Berlin, a change in the tourism industry was noticeable. Walking through a quiet city, seeing famous sites like the Brandenburg Gate empty or Alexanderplatz was definitely a new experience for locals here. People are staying home, working in home office, also seeing businesses closing down temporarily or some even forever. But Berlin was also supporting business owners and employees here, and I saw a lot of patient business owners, but also figuring out creative and new ways to keep their teams motivated and also to keep the tourism scene here in the city alive for the upcoming months. So today we will go ahead and hear two examples from local tourism businesses and how they experienced the past weeks, what's their current status, and what's their plan for the future. So first of all, we will listen to Sandra, who's the CEO of TripMe, an online tour operator creating experiences together with local travel agencies and partners. They're offering quite authentic and special journeys, and they're also strengthening the local economies with their work. Afterwards, we will welcome Dominika from Querstadtein, a local NGO. They're offering city trips led by homeless people and people who have a history in migration. So two really interesting speakers, and I'm happy to welcome Sandra now. Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Okay, so yeah, I will hand over the virtual stage to you now.
Thank you. Hello and welcome, everyone. First of all, thanks for being here. I'm Sandra. I'm the CEO of TripMe. I've been with the company for the past 7 years, and I joined in the founding year back in 2013. And since 2018, I took over as the CEO for TripMe. So I've seen the company through various stages, and definitely COVID-19 has been a new experience for all of us. A few words about TripMe. At TripMe, we want to elevate travel and empower people. We are a platform for individualized travel in the tailor-made sector, so it's long-distance travel that we offer, and we do that by connecting travelers directly to local agencies all around the world. Our local partners are experts in their country, they're experts in their region, and what they do is to plan, book, and organize fully customized tours for travelers around the world. The outbreak of COVID-19 had a huge impact on us, on TripMe and our entire network. Today, I would love to share a bit of that impact, the solutions that we found for that, small and bigger solutions, and also give you the future outlook. As COVID-19 spread around the world, for us as a company, we started going through different phases. You can see that here, this is what happened to our sales over the last 2 months or 3 months now. First, what we saw is that demand dropped a lot due to travel restrictions, health concerns of travelers. And less people were booking vacations for this year and for the coming year. And that meant for us, we had to look into cutting costs, lowering marketing expenses, stepping away from hiring, and trying to figure out how we can preserve our costs at a healthy rate. At the beginning of March, roughly, we saw that it became more significant than ever before. COVID expanded further throughout the world. More travel restrictions were in place, and that meant for us to look at how can we assist travelers to get back to their home countries. Travelers that were in the destinations having to get back home. We saw that bookings were dropping to zero, so there was nothing new coming in, and also cancellations grew. So people that had planned to travel decided not to travel anymore, which on the one hand side was endangering the business that we had already sold or our partners had already sold over the last 6 to 9 months, and with that draining finances not only for us but also for our partners. In that period, we also started getting into new working arrangements. So new working conditions for us as a team. It meant moving to home office. It meant short time work. So for the past 2.5 months, we've been working as a team from home, distanced from each other, and also on less time than we did before. Going into the third phase was basically when global travel restrictions were in place and got prolonged. So it was not only specific countries that we were not able to travel to anymore, but it was really all around the world a ban on traveling internationally. With international and long-haul travel, which is basically our product, not possible, a lot of questions started rising. We were looking at when will regulations be lifted, when do hotels or sites reopen, which airlines will still be available, which destinations will they fly to, how often will they fly there, and some of these questions are still unanswered. So in this period, we tried to find out more about how things are moving forward, trying to recalculate what the business is going to look like in the next few months. But most importantly, the question that came up is when will demand pick back up? Having a product and being able to offer it without people on the other side who want to travel is not going to work. So it's both sides. It's the demand side as well as the supply side that we were looking at and still are looking at. At the moment, I see us in the fourth phase, basically preparing for the future. Preparing for the future, on the one hand side, getting ready for a restart of our original business. And on the other side, we got to look for new business opportunities. Now, as a company, we are based in Berlin, but we are operating globally. So, and COVID didn't only had impact on us, but it had impact on our entire network of partners in over 80 countries around the world. The severity and also the timing of the impact was somewhat different in each country. And we kind of like saw a wave happening. While in Asia, agencies were already experiencing the impact of COVID-19, in Latin America, trips for this summer were still sold. On the other side, travelers from the US were still booking vacations, while in Asia and as well in Germany or European countries, the demand had already gone down to almost zero. So for us, it was not only the question of finding solutions, but it's also the question of aligning them throughout our partner network around the world and through the traveler base. We're looking at solutions for travelers and partners. To give you a bit of an overview of what we did, first of all, our goal was to assist travelers and keep them safe on the one side, and to make sure that our partners are financially stable down the road. So for travelers, what we looked at was to offer free postponements of their trips to a later date, flexible cancellation conditions. And we also started newly selling discounted gift certificates for future travel. So anybody that didn't book their travels yet was able to purchase gift certificates for themselves or for friends to encourage them to think about traveling after COVID has passed. On the other side, for our partners, it was essential that we set up a voucher system that's different from the certificates. It's basically for any travel that had already been booked, trying to make sure that that these bookings would be able to be replaced with vouchers. It's in the end goal again was to safeguard the financial base of our partners, and for that we set up processes, communication, and also the technical side within a week at the very start. So that was something that was amazing for us to see as a team. On top of that, for our partners, we tried to help them with communication guidelines. We did a partner survey to estimate what the impact really was on an individual base, and then went into individual business consulting talks to give our partners ideas for strategies moving forward, how to deal with postponements, how to deal with vouchers, how to do cost cutting, applying for governmental funds and support in their countries, but also giving them a positive outlook. So looking at the product updates, what kind of new tours can they offer, which target groups can they target in the future. So trying to get them also thinking about reinventing themselves. Besides that, we offered legal support and advice to our partners for any cases that might have come up. And we started offering webinars for partners as well as travelers. If you're interested, tomorrow we have our travel webinar to learn a bit more about India. Now, besides travelers and partners, COVID had also had an impact on us as a business and on our team, on how we worked. Now, as I mentioned, we moved into working from home, and we reduced working hours, which was a challenge for the team that they mastered very well. And looking at solutions for the team, first of all, I got to say that the team is really key. The team that you have around you, the team that you're leading, is key in order to move forward. We need to have motivated people. We need to have people that are engaged. And for that, we got to give them room to share their ideas. We got to share learnings and also keep the team in the best possible mindset. They are the key in order to move us as a company forward. Now, working in the new setting, communication became more essential for alignment and still is super essential. What we try to do here is to keep our communication base of the regular meetings as we were going before. So the team updates, team meetings, weekly one-on-ones, but we also added additional exchanges, making sure that we have more frequent company updates. And also I offered a one-on-one or I offered a session for question and answers at least once a month to basically answer any question that might still be out there. This was important to address any questions that were not meant not met in the regular meetings, and to be able to get to clarity, to get to transparency, and also to avoid uncertainties for the team. Over the last 2 to 3 weeks, we did on communication an exercise based on the outward mindset, where we basically try to get people into deeper talks with each other. So you would get into a talk with a team member and really trying to understand what their current needs are, what are their objectives, what are their challenges, what are they dealing with inside and outside of the company, to really see how I can help that specific person. The entire thing was based on on the work of the Arbinger Institute. So if you're interested, I highly recommend looking into the outward mindset on the Arbinger Institute. For the social component, what was lovely to see is those online events or team events that we had before in an offline surrounding were now happening online. So some of our team members would step in and organize a quiz night. They would organize a bingo night. We had exchanges on hobbies, meet for lunch. So anything that helps to bring back that social factor that was missing. Another thing we did for the team is we sent a postcard to everybody in the team simply to say thank you for all the efforts they put in. We built a new task force to look at new business potentials and try to get as many people involved as possible so they can actually bring their ideas in, and also encouraged everybody to invest more in learning. Grow 20, meaning spend 20 minutes every day on learning. There was training sessions from the team for the team. We tried to share more learnings in our company Google Chat, and also offered individual coaching for specific people. Learning from that is that right now is absolutely the time to empower your people. It's the time to empower your team. For TripMe as a business, we basically looked at what we can control. So we try to focus really on what we can control and try to step away from the things that were out of our hand. One of the things was to bridge the financial impact by reducing fixed costs, but also by looking at applications for governmental funds here in Germany. We started exchanging more with other platforms and companies to learn from them, to go through ideas together. We invested further in developing our identity as our TripMe identity, our website, keeping that updated, but also looking at the branding, who we are, why we exist. And we found that reinstating the why was extremely important in times of crisis, to get people that sense of there's a reason for me to be here. Looking at the sustainability factor of TripMe, we're currently looking into how we can integrate sustainability more and in different ways. So we're working on concepts to become better out of the current crisis, basically. And other than that is really setting up for a restart. And it's also looking at identifying new business opportunities. So be as ready as you can be with your current product to start again. And on the other side, to look at left and right at other opportunities that are out there. What does that mean for TripMe? If you're segmenting travelers into frequency and travel distance, you get a matrix similar to this, where you see on the one hand side, people are traveling, like let's say some people are traveling every second year or every other year, some people are traveling every year, or twice a year, or even more often. And then people are traveling in different distances. So you get people that travel once a year domestic, you get people that travel twice a year and always long distance. You get people that have different patterns where they would travel a bit long distance, a bit domestic, maybe a bit to the neighboring countries. Now, we at TripMe offer a solution for long distance travel and a bit of continental travel, where continental travel is the US traveling to Latin America, it's Singaporeans traveling within Asia. We saw that with the travel restrictions, and that's what we believe, that the people that typically tend to travel every other year are more likely to skip this year, not travel in 2020 and look at traveling next year again. So this is a potential loss of business. On the other side, we see that because of the travel restrictions, people travel less often and they're traveling closer to home. That is simply what the demand side looks like right now. Those factors highly depend on when the travel restrictions are being lifted, health conditions of travelers, our target group is partially in the risk group, age-wise, and also the economic impact that COVID had on everybody individually. So am I able to still travel? Do I have the finances to do so? When you look at that, for TripMe, that means that our target group is basically moving away from our typical travel product. We see that they travel less often, and we see that they're traveling closer to home. Now, this is not, or looking at that, we have to look at new solutions, because our current product will not be as in demand, or it's not as possible as it was before. Where we do see an opportunity for us as a company this year in 2020 is to move more into traveling closer to home, which is not our traditional product. If you go back to what our traditional product is and looking at where we are, where we see an opportunity, we need to look at getting a different setup for us. We are not at the moment set up for this, but we need to figure out how we can be set up. Now, I won't be able to give you a lot of details, but we're definitely looking at launching a new product and giving it a test this month, which is something super exciting for us. And yeah, stay tuned to know more about that soon. To summarize, I want to share a few learnings with you. What we've learned over the past five weeks is basically past months is basically 5 things. First of all, focus on what you can control and take one step at a time. There's no need in worrying about things that are completely out of your hands. Secondly, exchange more with other companies. They're going through the same thing. There's learnings to be shared. There's ideas to be created. You can confirm the thoughts that you might already have, and it's good to hand out a helping hand and show that you're not alone. Thirdly, avoid assuming and generalizing how people are dealing with the situation as we are in right now. I learned firsthand that I demotivated extremely motivated people because I started trying to solve issues that were not even there for them. Fourth, understand the demand before looking for solutions. We went very quickly into solution mode and we got stuck in what-if cycles, and that wasted a lot of our energy and brain power. And last and most importantly, empower your team and push valuable learning to them. As a leader of a team, you don't have to know all the answers. You don't have to do it all on your own. That's for sure. And if you look at it from a team perspective, as a team, we can do more than we think we can by giving power to the people that we have so carefully selected to be part of our teams. So empower your team and push valuable learning to them. That's it from my side, and thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sandra. This was super interesting, and especially when working with so many different partners and different destinations, I can imagine that yeah, it's super difficult, like communicating with all of them and taking all the different small problems into consideration. But I think it was great what you told also about like teamwork and how you're working together with your employees. I guess there were a lot of like helpful insights and interesting tips for other members who are listening right now. So thank you very much. We are going to welcome our next speaker. So Sandra, we will see you later again. Just one more thing, which I forgot to mention beforehand. If you have any questions for either Sandra or Dominika, please include them in the chat box on the platform or also in the comments on Facebook and YouTube. After the 2 talks, we will do a Q&A, and then we hope to answer all of the questions that you have. So yeah, please feel free to just like write them down, and after Dominika, we will have a question answer round with both of them. So, okay, Dominika, now it's your turn.
Hi, thank you for having me here. Hi, everyone. Yes, so I'm talking about querstadtein, which is a non-profit organization. And what we do, we organize city tours from unusual perspectives. So our tour guides are people who are homeless in their life or people with migration story, mostly refugees. What they do on the tours is they share their very personal stories, their very personal points of view on the city. And we see our tours as a means of civic education rather than a traditional touristic offer. We offer tours living on the street in Berlin and stories of migration in Berlin and in Dresden, which is our second branch. What is our goal? First of all, we want to inform about the subjects of homelessness and migration. We want to raise awareness of stereotypes through this personal contact with people from mostly discriminated groups of our society. We try to foster dialogue and empathy, and in the end, we want to contribute to shape an open society. Yeah. Who we are. So as I said, we are a non-profit organization founded in 2013 with the very clear purpose of education. Querstadtein was founded by a group of volunteers, but it grew very quickly. And right now we have 4 employees, 3 in Berlin and 1 in Dresden, and about 14 tour guides. Last year, we were able to organize almost 800 tours, which is a number we are very proud of. About the financing, since the beginning we have had entrepreneurial approach. Our vision is that revenue cover the cost, but we were not able to reach this vision yet. So our financial model is a mixture of tour income and project funding. Every year we apply for new fundings from private foundations or state foundations. Who participates in our tours is pupils and students from Berlin, from Germany, but also from Europe or the US. A huge group is also volunteers who during their volunteering service participate in seminaries, and part of the seminaries is also visiting our groups. There is also NGOs and companies visiting our tours for their social days or conferences, and private persons, both Berliners, Dresdeners, and visitors to the cities who can join our tours on the weekends. Yeah, this was before the pandemic, and then the COVID-19 came, and it meant a complete shutdown for us. So on 13th of March, we decided to stop organizing the tours. Already before, we had a lot of cancellations. People were not doing their trips to Germany. So our tour guides had no task anymore, and we had to work from home and start to think about it, how to cope with this huge financial problem for us. March is the beginning of high season, so it was clear it will have heavy consequences for our financial model. What we did, we applied for governmental support. There was a small financial relief from the city of Berlin. And also we decided to use this tool of short-time working, which means that employees have to agree to reduce their working time and payment, and the government covers 60% of the reduced time. We are very thankful for this tool because together with our reserves and our project fundings, it meant that we can survive for sure until the end of the year. But on the other hand, reducing working time is very problematic for us. This idea comes from the typical industry where you stop producing and then your employees have nothing to do. In our case, it meant we have to find new solutions, discover new ways, search fundings, and actually have a way more to do. So it's a big challenge for us. We also decided to try to raise donations. As an NGO, it's quite typical, but for us, it was something new. We offer a clear product which costs money, and normally we are not perceived as an organization you will donate to. So we tried to change that. We also decided to develop new digital formats to find a solution how to avoid this personal meeting and still transfer our content. And it's already 2 weeks that we are able to organize tours in Berlin and Dresden, but of course with very new regulations. And I will tell you a bit more about that. Yeah, so about raising the money, we decided to start a crowdfunding campaign on a platform called Start Next, which opened a special possibility for organizations struggling with the crisis. Our goal was 12,000 euros, and we reached more than half of it, which is something we are very, very happy about. And this crowdfunding, as a typical crowdfunding, is a bit of a pre-sale. People were able to buy vouchers to book our tours in advance, but also they could just donate. And around 60% decided to donate, and the 40 bought vouchers or tours for the future. Yeah, but we also started to work very intensely on digital formats. So first of all, an idea we had already before the pandemic was to create an audio walk about homelessness. We wanted to do it because our tour guides are mostly previously homeless people. It's very challenging to work with people who are still living on the streets as tour guides. But we found that the idea of audio walk is a bit less demanding and will give us the possibility to share the voices of people still living on the streets. We were lucky to find funding for this project shortly before the crisis started. And our schedule changed a bit. We were not able to work on it in March, but in April we already started to work on the project, and so that we think that in the end of August this audio walk should be ready, and then every single person can do our tour just with a smartphone and by their own. But we are also searching for a quick solution and quick alternative to our tours. And it was clear for us that it won't be so easy for us to offer just like an online yoga class or online dancing class, online querstadtein tour. First of all, because the connection to the city will be missing. And second of all, because our tour guides are not very used to the techniques. Sometimes they're not so comfortable with this format. So we found an application called ActionBound, where you can very easily create an interactive tour for smartphone or tablet. We prepared videos with our tour guides. We created a route for 4 of them together, again, for the subject of homelessness. And also we have found a solution that this interactive tour can be made actually by everyone from every city. And in this tour, you have not only the videos, but also many tasks and quizzes. So I think it's a lot of fun. And in addition to that, we also offered a webinar so that after exploring the city by yourself, you can also meet the tour guide in person, talk to him, ask questions, and learn a bit more about one story, one person. Yeah, and what we are very happy about was that we are able to offer our tours again. We already organized free tours in this very new format. So the first important rule was the 1.5 meter distance. On this picture upstairs, you can see our tour guides exercising, keeping the distance. Of course, it meant that we have to reduce the number of participants during the tour. We set maximum 10 participants. And it means also that the income from the tour is lower. Everyone have to wear a mask, which is for a speaker barely impossible. We tried it with visors. It's still uncomfortable. We have to see how will it go. And it was clear that if we have to keep the distance in cities, we need an audio solution. So we already had an audio guide set. which we could use. But the problem with AudioGet set is that it has a limited number of devices. So we had to bring the devices from one tour guide to the other. Also, as you give it to the participants, you have to be very careful with disinfecting and all of this stuff. So we are searching for a better solution, and I think we have found one. It's a group guiding system for smartphones from a small company called Nubart. So the idea is that participants just connect with the smartphone of the tour guide, and then using the mobile data, they can hear the tour guide on their phones. Yeah, so that's what's going on at querstadtein right now. Of course, it was a huge challenge for us. It's a big financial struggle, but on the other hand, I think it was a chance for us to find new ways to search for new solutions, to be creative. And I hope that we will use some of these new ideas in the future still, if the normal world is still back. Yeah, and thank you for your attention.
I see my mic was muted. Okay, thank you very much, Dominika. That was really interesting, as well as Sandra's presentation. Also, I think it's quite impressive to see how you used the past weeks to come up with new solutions and actions to develop your businesses and NGO further. So I can imagine it was quite a difficult time, but great to see that you stayed motivated and just trying to find new ways to come out of this whole situation in a good way. So I saw that there are already like 2 or 3 questions from the community. So I will start with a question for Sandra that was mentioned in the chat. So thank you for your presentation. What were the things you did to help understand demand better? Demand now and how demand may look in the future?
Yeah, super. Thanks for the question. It was basically, and still is, a lot of research and keeping an eye open. So we looked at different resources. We followed Skift, FVW, which is sort of tourism news here in Germany, looking at what the EU regulations are doing. We looked at the ATTA to see how flights and travel is coming back in the air. And at IATA as well, McKinsey, the WTTC. So there's a lot of resources out there to basically follow, and there's a lot of predictions. So you don't have to do those predictions all by yourself. At the same time, you will find predictions for almost anything. So people will tell you anything from things are popping up or stepping up very soon to it's going to take the next 2-3 years. And you just got to find your truth in that. On the other side, we started a survey with our own travelers. So this is something that's currently ongoing, where we are reaching out to our past travelers and trying to understand how do they want to travel, how do they see themselves traveling, and how can we help them in that. So it is partially what we do and partially looking at a lot of research that is out there. There's a bunch of information.
Okay. I will just continue with another question for Sandra, as it's a bit connected to that one. So Verena is asking, do you see long-haul travel picking up again next year, or is it too early to tell? So what are your predictions on that?
Super interesting question, yes. In the end, it will pick up again. I'm very sure of that. Travel has always come back from whatever it was hit by. The question of when it will start and how exactly is highly depending on the one hand side restrictions. So when are travel bans actually lifted? We see now that that within Europe the first travel bans are being lifted. That is great. For our product, it doesn't help so much yet. So we still need to wait a little bit longer for what we typically do. But as soon as those regulations are lifted, that is going to be the first step. And then it's going to be, in the end, a question of the financial impact that COVID had on individual people. So the more severe it was for individuals, the less money they will have to spend on traveling, or they might allocate their funds to different things or different parts of their life. So it's going to be highly depending on those two factors, I would say. But yes, it's going to pick up again, and how exactly, how fast, and how quickly things are coming back, we will have to see.
Yeah, we all want to know, probably. So
the crystal ball.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see. Thank you, Sandra. I got some questions for Dominika. So the first one is, have your tours changed in the sense that, like, also are your guides addressing the impact of COVID-19 on homeless people in Berlin and Dresden? Is this a topic during your tours?
It is a very important subject. We could see it, how important the phenomenon of homelessness is when you say stay at home and there's people who cannot stay at home, where you say isolate and they cannot isolate, and when you say go to the doctor, or it's dangerous if you feel sick and they have no health insurance. So yes, we talked a lot about it with our tour guides. They address it on the tours, and also in our digital formats, we have some parts talking about it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's really interesting for a lot of your guests and future guests. And yeah, I think it's important to talk about it and inform everyone about the issue and the situation. So Tanya is writing, "Hi Dominika, thanks for this insights. You're doing a great job with your project. Could you share the link to the Nubert Audio Guide mobile phone system, please?" So I think we can probably, if you send us the link, we can write them down in the chat. Or if it's an easy URL, maybe you just like say it.
I will, it's nubert.eu, so it's quite easy, but it will be great if you can share it. I don't know if they have information on their website about it, because it's a very new system, but you can for sure just get in touch with them, and then I think they will be glad to introduce it to you.
Are they based in Berlin or in Germany?
It's a German-Spanish company.
All right, thank you. Okay, let me see what other questions we got here. Okay, we'll just continue with Dominika for now. So there's another question. Thank you for sharing how your organization coped with the changes. What was the guest and guide feedback after those first new adapted tours?
I think everyone was extremely happy that it can happen again. So we were very surprised, like from the moment on, we just put the notice on our website that it's possible to participate in a tour again. We had already very quickly our tours booked out. So I think people were waiting for it. Of course, it's also fitting good in this atmosphere of these days, because being outside, walking around is something people were exercising also in the previous months. I think we had positive feedback. Our participants were taking it seriously with the distance, and we're happy about it, because also our tour guides are from the risk group. They have illnesses before, and it's very important for us that we take care of it, that it's really safe what we are doing. I think masks will be something uncomfortable in the summer when the temperatures are getting higher. But I think everyone is happy that it's happening, that it's possible, and people adapt to these new rules.
Okay, thank you. Also, another question I had in mind for Sandra, because also Dominika shared about like receiving financial support from the government here in Berlin. How was that like for like your local partners in the different destinations? Did they receive some kind of support from governments or local initiatives, or also did they like ask you what to do, or needed they some kind of like support from you?
Yeah, so that's a good question. When we did the partner survey, we asked also into that to understand really what the impact was for them, and we saw that governmental funds are not everywhere available. In some countries they were, in some countries they were absolutely not. In some countries it was simply still unclear whether there's going to be a program coming up. From surveying our partners, we saw that roughly 35% of our partners had applied for governmental funds and also received some of it already. Around 40% were unclear if there will be funds and or if the governments will actually consider it. And there were 30% that said there was no funds available. So that represents our partners, not so much the country base, but they were basically from all around the world. So in some parts, yes, there is. In some parts, there was not. And what we tried to do is kind of like open up the idea of there might be something that you can apply for. So start research. We don't have all the info. We don't know it all. Absolutely not. But it's good to say, hey, have you thought about looking into governmental funds? Have you thought about cost cutting? Have you thought about how you deal with your team? Have you thought about what you do with downtime? So those kind of things was more of us raising questions and giving advice to give them a direction for them to find out what to move forward with.
Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting. We got 2 more questions, which are a bit more like general, probably for all of us. So the first question is, what are your opinions for the future success of online travel? I think it's a tough question. I don't know, does any of you want to share something to that question?
Yeah, sure. I can go ahead. So like online travel, I would interpret that in the way of booking your trips online. That's definitely gonna grow further. We've believed in online for the last 7-8 years already. So definitely that's gonna happen more and more, I believe. Traveling online, so if it's going in the direction of virtual travel, I don't know. I'm not an expert in that, and I don't know if that is going to be something. I think that's an option out there, but I believe that the real travel experience still is so much stronger because you're actually traveling with all of your senses, not just with your ears and looking at pretty beautiful pictures, but you smell, you feel. It's very different. So when it comes to travel experience, that's going to be in the offline world, but finding information, booking, and making it possible to connect, that's definitely going to grow in the online world.
Yeah, I agree, kind of. I know, Dominika, are most of your bookings online, or where do people usually get tickets for your trips?
It's everything is online. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, we are experimenting with this digital format.
Mm-hmm.
For now, it's really like a experimental approach. We had some bookings from voluntary services, but that there were not many people who signed in for this offer. So yeah, we still have to try out and see how it develops. I think it's still new for travelers or visitors. So maybe it needs some time to establish as an opportunity or an alternative.
Yeah. Okay. The second question, which is a bit more general, or for both of you, is how has the Berlin social scene changed? So cafes, bars, restaurants, will visitors see many changes? Well, I mean, also for people who are not based in Berlin or in Germany, like from this week on, a lot of like the measurements that were taken and limitations are now like kind of lifted a bit more. So you see a lot of people outside, cafes, restaurants, and also bars are actually open again. As the weather was quite nice, most of the people are sitting outside. So actually it feels a bit like it's getting back to normal. But maybe you two also want to share your perspective on it.
Yeah, sure. At the moment, as you said, things are lifted and you see that life comes back into the streets. That's lovely to see, especially with the weather and having people socializing again. Honestly, my own opinion, as soon as everything is lifted, things will go back to what we were used to. I don't think that there's going to be a lot of things that stick around. We see that already when you look into the parks and there's good weather, there's a lot of people out there. They do what they've been doing before. They're taking a barbecue, they're sitting together, they're they're engaging in sports. Those things are going to come back. The period that we are in right now will have, if you want to make a change for yourself, you need to do that proactively. It's not just going to happen because of this this different atmosphere right now. As soon as as things are lifted, it will go back to what we're used to.
I think what's interesting to me is how many of bars or cafes didn't survive the crisis. I think it's something we still don't know, or I haven't noticed it. But that's something I fear a bit, that it could be that some of the small independent businesses or organizations really will not be able to come back.
Mm. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, I'm also curious to see how the upcoming weeks are going to develop. But yeah, it's definitely nice to see, as Sandra said, like getting life a bit back into the city and seeing people outside and having a bit of this feeling that summer is starting. So yeah, I mean, we all don't really know what's going to happen. But I think it's great to hear that different people in the industry like you two are working on solutions and are always like motivated to find new ways in those difficult times. And I'm really sure that a lot of the members that are listening today got some useful insights and tips from you too. So thank you very much. And also, if you have like any more questions, you can also follow Dominika and Sandra on Travel Massive and send them a message. Or you can also reach out to me and Lisa through berlin@travelmassive.com and send us any questions or additional comments that you have, and we will share them later on. Okay, so I think that's it. So thank you two very much for joining and sharing all those great information and insights. It was super interesting.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, thank you for organizing as well. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, and thank you, Lisa, behind the scenes for managing the technical process. So probably we're gonna plan like another online event, and we will keep you all in the loop through our chapter in Travel Massive. Thank you all very much. Stay healthy, and yeah, see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.